All right. Hello, Memorial Kindergarten families. If someone could just throw into the chat that you can hear me and see me, that would be fantastic. And there's always a slight delay, so it makes us feel like we're talking to space. Still nothing. I'm sure you're all typing in there and it's just taking a minute to catch up with us. Okay, I see 3 comments, so I know that you can hear us. Woohoo! All right, so we have Whitney and Lauren. Hi, guys. So good to see you. We're you. So welcome to our kindergarten virtual orientation curriculum night. Hi, Jenna. So this is a whole new experience for us. We always are used to having you live and in person so we can see you and get to know you. And we're also very affectionate people. So usually we grab you and hug you, but unfortunately we can't do that right now. So thank you so much for joining us in this virtual world. And I have our kindergarten team with us. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Sue Balboni and I am your child's school principal. I'm the person who tries to make this all happen smoothly, and I appreciate any feedback that you can give us on how we can make this experience easier for you. So I will apologize in advance in case we have any little people from our own homes or animals from our own homes who may join in the experience, but we're all live from our own homes, and I will hand it over to my kindergarten team to introduce themselves, and then we'll go into our presentation.
Hi, I'm Kim Arujo. Nice to see you guys through the screen.
Hi, I'm Kim Bob. Good to see everyone.
And I'm Sasha Lords. Have a good time to be here.
Hi, I'm Dahlia Gamerstadt.
So Dahlia is with us. She is a long-term sub in our special education department for kindergarten and first grade. Miss Sanel, who many of you probably know from the spring. She had a beautiful baby girl in June, right as we were finishing up our school year, little Millie Faye. And she'll be back with us in November towards the week of Thanksgiving. So Dahlia has been phenomenal in filling in that role of our special education teacher for kindergarten and first grade. At this point, I am going to take just a quick pause so that I can share my screen and share with you our kindergarten presentation. All right, kindergarten teachers, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So, do I need to move back to the first slide? Nope, we're there. Okay.
So welcome to kindergarten. We're going to do questions at the end, especially in this format. So if you could just type your questions in at the end when we're all finished, we'll get started.
All right, so I wanted to take a quick minute to talk about some of the goals that we have in kindergarten this year. It's a different year for us, but our goals are very similar to what we've done in the past. So one of our main goals is to give your children the academic and social skills that they're going to need to progress on to first grade. Even though it looks different this year, we will make sure that your child is prepared for the next year. We're going to provide a supportive and fun classroom environment. We like to help your children make new friends. That's really important to us in kindergarten, and to discover a lot of new interests they might not have known that they had before they entered into the school. And also, it's really important to us that we make the classroom community full of leaders who feel safe and comfortable and accepted and free to learn.
Excellent. Sue, I just see a comment. They can still see the banner.
Okay.
If we want to get rid of that.
Yep, let me get rid of that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize we had to go out of the whole presentation.
Thank you, parents, for letting us know. And I should be able to. Okay. Is it gone now or is it still there?
I still see it. I don't think it's going to block anything. I just don't want anyone to get confused.
I think it's gone now.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Now I see you.
All right. There we go.
Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to start off with, because we feel like it's really important, is growth mindset. So we want to be able to explain a little bit about that so you know, and so you can understand how we're going to use it in the classroom. So if you have a growth mindset, that is the idea that you can work hard, you can persevere, you can challenge yourself, and you can grow and learn. If you have a fixed mindset, that means that you believe that you were born with all the talent and intelligence that you're going to have for your whole life. So you can't really do anything to change how smart you are or any of those natural abilities and talents. And I think you can guess which one we want your children to have. We would like them to have a growth mindset. So with growth mindset, you'll hear us say some things, and we would love if you could say these things too. Things like, I can't do it yet. If I work hard, I can figure it out. I like making mistakes. Mistakes help me learn. I'm going to try something new. I have strategies that I can use. Those are all positive things that children can say and then internalize when they think about their learning. Whereas with a fixed mindset, you might hear people or kids say, I'm not smart enough, or this is hard for me. They're just better at it than I am. I give up. All of those kind of negative ways of thinking that we don't want our children to say, and we don't want them to hear us say. So we try to use targeted praise with growth mindset. If you tell a kid over and over, you're so smart, you know everything, you're a genius, like all of those things sound really good at face value. But then if you've been told, I'm so smart, I'm so smart, I'm so smart, when you get to something that's hard for you, all of a sudden those two ideas clash in your head. If this is really hard for me, I must not be smart like I thought I was. Everyone's been telling me that I'm so smart, I must not be smart. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, and we praise kids and say things like, you worked so hard on that. Show me what you did. How did you try something new? I love that you didn't give up. When they find something that challenges them, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm actually not smart, they're going to say, oh, I know what I can do. I challenge myself all the time. I know that I can try something new, and I know that it's okay to make a mistake. And they're not going to bump up against that negative self-talk. They're going to have that positive mindset to guide them through. And it's important because it promotes independence, it cultivates intrinsic motivation. So instead of feeling motivated by getting a sticker or a treat, they feel motivated because they're proud of themselves and they have that motivation inside of them. And it sets them up for success. We want them to be lifelong learners. That starts in kindergarten, and we want them to keep going forward into the future like that. The power of failure. Oh, I tell my kids all the time, make mistakes. I make them, you will make them. I don't want them to be afraid of making a mistake. I want them to fail. I want them to fail at home. I want them to fail at school. I want them to feel it when it's something small, like not being able to write a word or not being able to draw a picture correctly. Because if we do things for them too much and they don't fail early enough, they're going to fail when it's something really big. And we want them to feel okay with it now so they get to that point in the future where they're okay with it when it's something bigger. We want you at home to help us promote growth mindset just like we do in the classroom. So some of the things that you can do, positive language, like we talked about, adding the word yet onto I can't do this is really powerful, even if it's just that tiny little word. Brainstorming scenarios with your child, you having a growth mindset really helps. Allowing them to fail at tying your shoes, fail at opening your snack. You're going to learn that you can do those things and talk about them with the grown-ups around you and that they're going to support you.
So that leads into community meeting. And as you know, we do community meeting every morning at 8:40-ish. If I'm on my game, then it's right at 8:40. Sometimes it's a little late, depending on my class. But this is the time where we get to all see each other as a whole class. So it's for cohort B and cohort A and our remote kids to all come together. Sometimes we play some growth mindset videos. You might have heard about Mojo and some of the videos and him making mistakes and learning from them. And then we talk about it. And it's a great way for us all to see each other as a community. And one thing I know we can all touch on is each one of us have had a remote student come in the past week or two. And all of the remote kids that came in, at least in my class felt as though they already knew her. They already took her in. They saw her every morning. They already talked to her, and she recognized everyone's face. So coming in wasn't as scary for her. And it was such a great thing to see everyone just snap and instantly feel like they were already friends because they've already talked to each other for weeks. So it was a great thing to say. After our community meeting, we kind of go into our morning meeting, and this is just for us in the classroom. And this is a short period of time, but it's jam-packed with all of the academics in one little quick hit. We do literacy with our morning meeting and learning about the months of the year and reading snap words. We have math where we're counting how many days we've been in school. Science, we are talking about the days of the week. We have a meteorologist who will go out and tell us what the weather is and how we should dress for the day, depending on how it feels. So we do a lot of work that's fun for them, but they're also getting a lot of academics in a short period of time.
Go. So a lot of the questions that popped up from the survey that we sent out basically said, will my kid learn how to read this year? Or my child really wants to learn how to read. That was sort of a big button item that popped up. And we wanted you to know that it is happening all the time. Many of you know from doing your work with your kids during remote week that we're working on reading the pictures. And then we talk about as we turn the pages, we say, and then, and then. So literacy is happening all the time. They are gaining the tools and the knowledge they need to become readers. They might just not think of themselves in the sense of being a true reader because you are their model. They see you sitting down and just banging it out. And they are in the beginning stages of it, but they are readers. So the things that we use to get them there is a program called Fundations. I know a lot of you have been looking at the Fun Hub during remote week, and that's an opportunity for them to learn the letter, the name of the letter, the sound the letter makes, and a word that helps them associate the letter and the sound. We do a lot of read alouds. They look different this year. Sometimes we're holding a book up and walking around a classroom. Sometimes we put it under a camera, a document camera, and project it up onto the wall so they can see the pictures better. But read alouds are a really great way for them to start to build up their knowledge of literacy. We do quick little mini lessons and then send the kids off to do some work. And then we come back together again. Today, I know in my class, we were talking about reading cover to cover. And the prediction you made on the cover of the book, did the pictures inside the book match what the cover was? We do journal writing. Mostly we do that maybe once or twice a week where it's all put in one place, and that allows them to go back and say, oh my gosh, this is what I did in the beginning of the year. Look how much more I can write now. A handwriting practice is something we do during Fundations. And interactive read aloud. This is something that you're going to have fun doing with it at home. It would be something where you read a story and your kid chimes in with the animal voices, or maybe you might read a story and then they create puppets and they start to act things out. There's lots of ways to be interactive with your reading and your writing, but these are all ways that we do literacy in the classroom to make sure that we're strong readers and strong writers by the end of the year. Now, KEEP, that's an acronym. It stands for Kindergarten Early Intervention Professional. And every kindergarten classroom has a KEEP member in their classroom. And I look at this as the best gift that your kids can have this year. The classes are even smaller this year, so the attention has been boosted up. But their job really is to touch base with those kids who might not have generated the letter sounds we were hoping they might have at this point, or maybe they just need a little more support tapping out sounds when they do some writing. And KEEP are the people that work with your children on a more individual basis to give them an added little boost. It is something that's part of the regular ed program. And that is their job, is just to really give a little extra oomph in a situation where maybe the classroom teacher might be working in a little bigger group at that moment in time.
So reading and writing in the classroom, Sasha talked a little bit about interactive reading and writing. We really want the kids to be involved in it and not just us as the reader and us as a writer, and really see themselves as those things. And we talk a lot about how our reading curriculum and our writing curriculum aligns. A lot of it is connected. So for example, if we were doing a lesson about stretching out words and really hearing those sounds, then we could model that again in reading and talk about how we blend those sounds back together to be able to read the words, and showing kids how they work together. And you can really be a reader and a writer at the same time, even when we're just starting out in kindergarten. So we do interactive with everyone working together. We do a lot of independent work, especially this year, modeled and shared reading. Like when I model, I want them to show what a fluent reader looks like, how I change my voice, all the things that I do so that they can grab onto those things. And this year you'll be doing that at home too when you read with them, showing them all the fun things that you can do as an adult reader that they can then try out as a student.
So one of the strongest indicators and things that we look at is to help us understand your child as a reader is phonological awareness. And phonological awareness really just looks at parts of the word, the letter sounds, and syllables. So they hear the beginning sound and the ending chunk. Are they able to hear all the sounds in the words, and are they able to count out their syllables? And great fun ways that we do it at school. You probably have done it at home. Singing silly songs. Rhymes are the best. Any books that rhyme, they can start hearing that they all have the same ending chunk. And then finger play, which for the longest time I didn't know what it was, but I do it all the time. Finger play is any songs that have hand movements to go with it. And this helps children start to really understand the vocabulary and that words have meaning. So like the itsy bitsy spiders, they're making the spider and they start to see what that is. Or the 5 little ducks, they're seeing and they're counting backwards. So they're getting that language and the visual with them, and it really helps them. And a part of phonological awareness is phonemic awareness, and this is when we break down a word into its individual sounds. So having the child tap out and listen to those sounds that they hear, and then putting them together for the word. So for cat, the example's up there, they hear act. An important thing to know is when they first start doing this, if they say K, it's okay. Later on in the year, we're going to tell them that it's C. We're going to teach them how to know that there is a reason why it's C or K, and we're going to teach them how to do that. But as long as they're hearing the correct letter that says K, whether C or K, it's fine. And then we move on to teach them that you can keep that ending chunk and change the initial letter and make a brand new word. So cat would change into bat, and that could change into fat, and they could make this whole list of words just by changing the initial letter. Now we're going to go into snack. This is going to kind of touch back onto what Kim Arujo was talking about with letting them feel a little bit. Mm-hmm. For snack, please try to have your child be able to open the snack bag. Snack is pretty short, and we don't have scissors outside. We are eating all of our snacks outside, and a lot of the snacks we might not feel comfortable opening them just because we don't want our hands near your child's food right now. But also helping them work on the pinch and pull, letting them do it. I know it's easy. I always try to help my daughter open up her snacks, but letting them struggle with it, because once they're able to open it, they have that sense of pride. Maybe even if it's super hard, like a cheese stick, maybe cutting it before you pack it a little bit so that it's easier for them to open. And another thing is that as it's getting colder outside, we are starting to get frost on the ground. And one of our snacks is underneath the tents. So if you want to send your child in with a towel that they can sit on so that their bottoms don't get wet when they sit on the ground, you are welcome to do that.
All right. So in math, we are doing it, as Kim said earlier, all day long. We do it in the morning during morning meeting, but we do all have a math time. So even though the kids are doing math all day, when they hear us say, okay, the schedule now says it's time for math, their brain goes, aha, this is the time I'm going to learn how to count. So with math, we do things mathematical thinking. We ask a question of the day. The question in my class today was, do you like candy corns? You know, we're working on shapes. Candy corns are kind of a triangle shape when we draw them. And then that allows us to use things where how many kids said yes, how many kids says no, how do we hop on a number line? If we added the yes and the no's together, what does that equal? How many kids are in our class? So that's a way that we do math in the morning meeting, but we also spin that out into our math block where maybe somebody else might do a survey of the day. The counting jar would be an example where there's a bunch of items that we put into a jar, and then the kids will represent what they see. And what's beautiful about that is it allows kids to draw a picture of what they see. So if it's 5 shells, they might do 5 little drawings of a shell. They might write the number 5. They might tally the number 5. So the counting jar is a beautiful way for us to work on our number sense and have it be a little more fluid, because there's lots of ways to get that answer correct. An attendance stick is another part of counting. I sort of use that in my classroom when the kids sign in yes and no on the morning sign in. Then we figure out, okay, if 5 kids said yes, they like candy corns, and 3 said no, we have a series of cubes that we click together, and they can see that everybody is here that day. Or if someone didn't sign in, we take a block off, and that allows them to see that one person isn't in school or one person forgot to sign in. Patterning is a beautiful way to introduce math concepts to the children. We might do it by colors. We might go for a walk around the school and see if we can find patterns in our natural environment. And measuring, we do that a lot with using arbitrary units. So pattern blocks we can measure with, we use with snap cubes we measure with. Sometimes we just use our pencil or our shoes. So math might look a little bit different to them because we're, like I said, using our shoes to measure, but it is a way of thinking about math in a kindergarten classroom. Next one, perfect. So the constructivist approach is a little bit of what I talked about just in the last slide. It's a way for children to represent and build about what they know, and they come at solutions in a different way. So you will see coming home, if you haven't received it yet, I know my class hasn't received them yet, we're sending home a math kit of manipulatives to use. And in those, you might see little counter chips, red and yellow on either side. And the reason why those are there is because we can create the number 5, for example, in a multitude of ways. And it's allowing kids to come in at different angles and still get the same answer. Children will use a lot of math manipulatives. This year, everybody has individual tubs of the manipulatives to make sure that they only use things that belong to them. But it allows them to move, slide, count, stack, and come across different ways to figure out the answer to a math question. Science. All right, so we've been working on the life cycle of an apple tree, and that's going to blend beautifully into pumpkins right now. And it allows children to see that although they're 2 very different plants, one's a tree, grows really tall, we can go and climb them and pick apples. The other one's a vine along the ground, but they start to make connections, like they both start with seed, they both need water, they both have blossoms that turn into a fruit. So life cycles of a living thing, plants is what we're doing in kindergarten, is a big part of our unit. When it gets to be closer to the winter months, we'll talk about matter, solids and liquids. We get to build cool little apparatuses where we take plastic spoons and we catapult marshmallows and use rubber bands to propel things across the room. Or maybe we'll work on using cars and figure out what works going downhill versus uphill. Weather is a big part of our science. It actually goes through the whole entire year, where we keep track of the colors. And what that means is if it's a blue day like it was today, that means it's pretty cold. A white day is extremely cold. And we kind of take a thermometer and break it down into color blocks to help the kids understand that it's colder or warmer. Living and non-living things is something that we work on a lot, especially towards the end of the year. And we spend our year kind of looping back what they've learned in the beginning and then inserting that into a bigger concept about science in the spring.
All right, I know that some parents had questions about social studies, but I'm looking at the time and I want to make sure we give you plenty of time for questions and comments. So I'll just quickly touch base on social studies. This is where we talk about ourselves. We learn about ourselves and our friends and our family, and that we are all part of a community. Not just a community in the school, but also a community within NADEC. We talk about famous Americans and holidays, and we do well, going back to the community, a lot of that work is through the Open Circle curriculum and how we all have feelings and how we can interact with that. We also talk about famous Americans and holidays. And this year, Natick is kind of doing like a rehaul on our social studies curriculum. I am part of that. And we're really taking a look at how we've taught social studies in the past and how we're moving forward. And with that in mind, we are making sure that we are using the social justice standards, making sure that we're teaching tolerance within the classroom, and having students understand and know that all voices are going to be heard. It's not just going to be the voices that have been told in the past. For example, Thanksgiving is coming up, and how we're going to be teaching and talking about Thanksgiving. The focus is going to be a lot of Native American and the indigenous people, and not just the story of the first Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims. So making sure that everyone gets their voice heard. And then specials. So your children have specials on their remote weeks only. Attendance is taken during that time. They have music, art, and PE, and library. And all of you should have gotten the schedule for your children and the login. So if you haven't, make sure you reach out to your teachers, your child's teacher.
And on your remote week, so the work that we send home on remote weeks, we're really counting on you as a partner in this. We have your children for that 1 week, and we try and put as much as possible in there, but we need their learning on the remote weeks to be just as robust with you at home. And when they come back for their next in-person week, our curriculum does move on. So we're assuming that everything that we've put in the remote week has been completed at home so that they're ready to jump back in as soon as we get back in person. And we really need you to be reading and double checking the documents that we send home. They're updated every week. Some things might change, things that we want you to submit differently, things that we want you to send home or send back to school or not send back to school. All of those things are really, really important that it flows smoothly for us. So we really appreciate you guys reading and double checking and making sure we're all on top of it this year. Thank you. Time for questions. Yay.
All right, so I am going to stop sharing and I will head towards the questions. Okay, so the first question. If children have to sit on the ground during snack break, why can't they use some foam tiles instead of towels? They insulate well and 1 by 1 foot, so easy to carry. If you, I'm just going to answer this. If you want to send your child with that, that's totally fine. Towels tend to be easier because you can mark your child's name on it. It can be rolled up. It can be put in their backpack. We're trying very hard not to have things touch other children's things. So a towel seems to be the way to go, or a yoga mat that has your child's name on it that can be easily rolled up and put aside.
Sue, if I can also add to that, the towels also help the kids understand space. And so a long towel that they can lie down on gives appropriate space between children when they're sitting outside having snack.
All right. Love the social studies update. Thanks for putting so much thought into this. Yes, the whole district is really pushing hard on the social justice, and the state has adopted new standards for social studies, which really address the whole civics piece of it. We're pushing hard this year on 8th and 5th grade curriculum. And then we'll be moving forward in the spring with a new geography unit for all grades. And then moving forward. So Kim Bop, as she said, is on that committee. I'm leading that committee, so I'm super excited about all of the work that our district is putting forward in addressing the needs of all. And beyond that, I don't see many questions.
We had a few in our survey we sent out.
Sure. Do you want to address those, Kim?
Yes, let me pull it up. Let me try to remember. Give me a second as I said that, and then I don't have it pulled up. So
no worries.
1 second. I think another question just came up though.
Yep, I see that. So, okay, so here, how are kids playing and working together? Is there any partner small group time?
It's really difficult this year to do stuff like that. We used to be able to do a lot of small group, a lot of partner work, but all of it is back to back, like we were touching each other. So we're not doing that this year. But I think I've noticed at least that having the smaller classroom in general almost feels like a small group. We get to hear a lot more. I feel like we get to share a lot more with each other, whereas last year it might have been like, okay, let's come back together after the lesson and maybe 2 kids get a chance to share. Whereas this year I feel like everyone can share. We just have the ability to do that because of the smaller group. But there's not as much partner and small group time as we would like, just because of the safety precautions.
And just to piggyback on that, our district, I feel, has gone above and beyond. I don't know if any of you have heard Dr. Nolan speak, but not only are we 6 feet apart with our desks facing the same direction, but we also have plexiglass on every desk. So we very easily have the opportunity to have kids kind of partner up with plexiglass between them and their masks so that they can partner up and they can collaborate on things. But I have to say, I've never seen kids adapt better to the whole idea of social distancing and mask wearing as this group of kids. They've been phenomenal, and they use zombie arms or spread their arms. And we also have pool noodles for every kid. So they recognize the distance, and they are totally rocking it. So it's been awesome. The next question, Lisa, of course, this whole thing is being recorded. It will be shared out with the classroom teachers, who will then share it out with you in their weekly updates. So we will definitely share that with you. And then the next question is, how is remote work monitored? We're trying to help as much as possible so that our students' levels clear for the teacher, but we're not sure if it's being reviewed.
Yes. So some of our work has changed, and Kim and Sasha interrupt me too. There was a lot of paperwork in the beginning because we were just getting to know each other. We're moving more towards electronic, and a lot of it is going to be on Seesaw. We just started it with Seesaw very slowly with uploading the M and N pictures, or I and U, depending on what cohort you're in. And posting that up, but we're going to start building it more in that way, and that all directly gets sent to the teacher so that we have access to it. We have to accept it to say that they did a good job, or we can actually even send it back and say, oops, can you try again? And then once we accept it, we can comment like, great job, love how you did this. Or I know I was commenting on kids like, wow, you found a lot of things that begin with the letter M this week. So we do see it. The foundations work and the reading and a lot of that stuff, we can't see it, but when they come, we can't see it while they're at home. But that being said, when they come into the classroom and they are writing their ends, and we do a review on Monday on how do you write your letters, and they know you start at the plain line and you go down, I know that they practiced at home that week. I know that they worked on it. For reading, if they're sitting there and they already know cover to cover, they've been practicing and they're using the language that I assigned to them at their remote week, I know they did the work. So a lot of it is a trust between you and the students and I. But we are aware, we can tell the kids who are participating and who can't. We can see if they recognize what we're saying or not.
And just to piggyback on that, Kim, I think it's important to comment on the fact that if you're really helping too much, then that impacts the classroom teacher's ability to really assess where a child is. And it gives them information that may not be 100% accurate when they're trying to form small groups or when they're trying to determine intervention. So let your child do their own work. If they need a little clarity, provide it. But don't correct their work, because that allows the classroom teacher to see what they're capable of so that they know where they need to provide the support when the child is in the classroom. Next question. It sounds like you provide individual attention for areas where children are struggling. Do you also adjust if kids are coming into the class already reading to continue to challenge them?
Absolutely. I'll take that one. So the answer is absolutely. I think what we've been doing for the beginning of this year is really getting to know your child. Because the last thing we want to do is assume that somebody is able to do something that they can't, and we put an unnecessary pressure on them, or vice versa. So the answer is absolutely. We're going to go through a series of small little assessments we've already started just to get a better understanding of exactly what each child knows so we know where to pick them up and move forward. But absolutely, we will be doing a lot of challenging. Don't worry.
Next question. If two kids from the same class are doing remote specials together from the same location, do they need to log on to their own separate computers accounts for attendance purposes? So it's important to know that during morning meeting, attendance is taken, and that's the attendance that goes into PowerSchool, which is our student information system. But beyond that, a student may show up for morning meeting, but then may not show up for their specials during the day. And that's important information for us to have. So our front office, Mrs. Flynn and Mrs. Pop, both review the attendance from all of the specials. That said, our specialists are really great about recognizing that many families are co-sharing the responsibility for those remote weeks. We also have students who are going to the ASAP program during those remote weeks, or to the Y, or they have a nanny or a tutor, or they're, nanny sharing type of situation. And our specialists are really great about checking in and saying, okay, are any of you on the same account together? It's obviously better if they're separate, but if that's not a possibility and you log in, just, our specialists are really great about making sure that they check in and say, I actually heard Miss Pasquarelli saying, oh, okay, so you and you're all on the same computer. Great, no problem. We also have our teachers' kids and our special education students who may be attending full time. And when that happens, especially for PE and music, they may be projected. So there may be 5 or 6 kids. So we're really conscious of that and are making sure that we're taking attendance for those. All right, so we have about 3 minutes. Kim, is there anything else that popped up in that survey that we didn't answer?
One of the questions was, what's the workload for home going to look like as we get more into routine? There is going to be more work, but we also want to keep in mind that your children are 5 or 6 years old. And home is not school. So your child is not going to be able to do 5 hours of academics at all at home. We really try to stretch it out over the week so that it works for you and your child. If you're working from home and also trying to help be your child's teacher, that's stressful, and we know that. So we try to give you, these are the things that need to be done this week. Choose how you want to do it. If one day all they do is practice writing their letters because it just didn't work, that's okay. Let them be 5, let them be 6, let them play, let them bake with you, let them do all these other fabulous things that are helping them learn as well. And the next day, do some more work. And there's no timeline within that week. Just do what we want you to do the work that's expected, but when you do it is not up to us. It's what works for you as a family.
We want it to be flexible. We want your kids to love to learn, and it's really, really difficult to get that love of learning back if they lose it. Yeah. So we want to make sure that that's not something that happens this year. We want them to love learning at home and at school.
Right. And we also know they're going to give you a lot of pushback because you're their mom and dad, and they feel like they can, and we expect that. So we understand.
We got it.
And we some of us have children too, and we totally recognize, we're at school all day and our kids are at home learning and they're giving pushback. We all get it. We're all in the same boat. We're just doing this together and trying to get through it. There was a question here. If the student is at school for the remote week with Miss G, we are removed from all the schoolwork. Is there anything additional we should be doing? Miss G, do you want to answer that?
Sure, yeah, I can take that. So when kids are with me for their remote week, we're doing basically the same things that students that are at home are doing for their remote week. We just might do it a little differently in the Learning Center. We have a lot of adult support. We have 2 paraprofessionals that help us out. There's nothing additional you should be doing. I sometimes provide additional or supplemental activities of my own that reinforce the concepts that we're practicing. If you have any questions about specific things that your kids are doing in the Learning Center with me, feel free to shoot me an email and I can clarify it.
One more question. Will any parts of the curriculum not be covered this year? Do you want me to take that, or does somebody else want to?
Yeah.
I can take it. I think we are altering the curriculum in ways that make sense for our learners. A lot of our curriculum spirals anyway, so they might not be exposed to it as many times as they would have last year, but they're still getting that exposure. And we're also working as a district to determine what is the most important stuff that they should be getting. We did the same thing last year in the spring so that first grade knew exactly what they had been exposed to during the remote learning and what they would have to pick up on. So we have things that we know are like super important for us to hit, and some things that we might not get to as much. But mostly we're going to try to cover everything.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. So the last 4 comments I want to show, just because, you know, as parents, I can totally sympathize and empathize and understand the stress and the struggle that you're going through. But this is a group of educators and professionals who care deeply about their work. They care deeply about your children. They are incredibly passionate about children and their learning and making sure that they're successful. So I just want to say out loud in front of all of you that this is an incredible group of educators. And yes, you are incredibly lucky and blessed to have them with you and working with your children. So, you know, just a few comments. So Christine, thank you. Thank you all so much. Lisa, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Rachel, thank you so much for everything that you're doing to help support our kids during this challenging time. We are so lucky to have an amazing kindergarten team, without a doubt. Thank you all. Our kids are so lucky. Thank you. You're all amazing. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. I mean, like, some days I wish that I had put my child in Memorial just for the opportunity to work with these amazing teachers. So thank you all so much for your time tonight. This has been recorded. It will be shared out by the classroom teachers. And anytime you have questions, just reach out to your classroom teacher, reach out to me. We're all here to support you, to support your kids. We're a team. So thank you and have a great night.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.